Too cold, man. Gosh. Man, I'm really cold. Man. And the problem is, in the studio, it's everywhere it's warm except for inside where we broadcast with the soundboard and everything. It's whack. Gosh. And I don't want to be sitting here all bundled up, but I guess that's what I have to do. Maybe bring a little space heater. I don't know. I hate sounding like an elderly man up in here, but I'm cold. But that's my problem, right? It ain't yours. As if y'all care. First world struggles. Again, it's first of all, I apologize for not being live and direct on Monday. My wife had an appointment that I had to accompany her to. It wasn't, but I did put in to have one of my shows rebroadcast, and I followed all the protocols. And I don't know about that rebroadcast. Maybe when I can't be here, I'll come in and pre-tape a show. I don't know. Got to work on that. But we need Q4 and the Bro Diallo Show specifically. We do need some support, some input, so that we can have more resources, more hands on deck to make things flow more professionally. I feel kind of like, well, anyway, because, this ain't NPR. Because NPR, even though it's National Public Radio, I'm snitching, I know in the snitch industry, if NPR, if you, y'all want to step to me, if you want to talk radio beef, I'm here, son. But I'm telling it, put this in the streets. NPR is funded by multinational corporations. Now, National Public Radio back in the 80s was actually, because when I first started listening I used to listen to local indie radio like our station, and I used to listen to NPR. And it was very insightful, very hard-hitting. And one of their main selling points was we're commercial-free radio. And commercial-free didn't just mean that they didn't have commercial breaks. Commercial-free means that they weren't obligated to corporate interests. So they could say what they want to say. So do y'all remember the MC Hammer song, Addams Family? They say what they want to say. I might play that just to troll my listeners. I don't know. See, how your brain, you got to be careful what you expose yourself to, because certain things stick. But anyway, NPR used to have investigative journalists. They were quite hostile, seemingly hostile to corporate media, to corporate power, and even government power, because their income was pretty much fixed. They operated off of local and federal grants and fundraising. So they were outside of the mainstream and independent. And they would expose corruption, and they would expose instances of corporate overreach and pollution. And that's the NPR I used to listen to. But now, people in the know call NPR, instead of National Public Radio, they call it National Petroleum Radio, because they are funded mainly by corporate underwriting. And remember, it used to be commercial-free radio, but now they have these spots where they never call it commercial-free radio anymore. That's no longer a selling point, even though it's still technically, according to its charter, a commercial-free station, a station strictly for the public interest. And they will say, well, listen to, I don't know, a popular show is This American Life, underwritten by, and they'll list like 50 different businesses, and it's like a 5-minute commercial that's not a commercial. They're just, quote-unquote, listing their funders and underwriters. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Archer Daniels Midland Company, Cargill, BP. So, there really is no independent media out there of that scale, of a national. Even, Amy Goodman with Democracy Now!, Juan Gonzalez, they launched the career of Jeremy Scahill and several other muck-rating journalists who are actually still independent, snitching on multinational corporations, snitching on the corporate elite. But Amy Goodman, everybody knows the big boogie, liberal boogeyman, George Soros and his billions of dollars, and other tech billionaires who have liberal leanings. So there's certain things even Amy Goodman can't talk about, like, the 9/11 inconsistencies and the truth about 9/11. She often softballs much of her reporting about the Zionist state. And there's certain individuals that she just will not have on her show. Someone like Ken O'Keefe or who's the other radical guy? Sean Swain, the anarchist political prisoner, black bloc. So even with Amy Goodman, even though she's, probably one of the best nationally syndicated radio hosts out there, she still has, a muzzle on her. So I'm just saying. And like I said, yeah, I'm telling it. So if we're going to have a talk radio beef, I know it'd be the most boring beef in existence. But I'm just saying, we're independent and we need your support so that we can continue to be unmuzzled, to say what we want to say, do what we want to do. The Q4 radio family and the Bro Diallo Show. Now, they ain't gonna never give me nothing, because they know I don't even know how. I wouldn't even make a good sellout. Like, when I worked at Wendy's, I just was giving away food. I'm just not good. I'm not the person, man. You can't hire me as a guard. All your stuff will be gone, man. You'll be driving up the street and homeless people will be like playing your Xbox. It won't be plugged into nothing. They'll just be like looking at traffic with the Xbox controller, like they're controlling traffic or something. Because I find it hard to follow unjust protocols. That's just me, And so, I'm kind of a drifter, because I can't really, I'm like, if it don't make sense, then I can't really enforce it, and I try to go along, I try to be, but I guess I just don't fit in this society, and that's okay. Yes, I'm an outcast, like a for real outcast, not like, but anyway, let's get into some stories. First thing I wanted to talk about is, black folks, y'all hurt my heart, man. Now, we've been doing the same dance with the white majority since the Emancipation Proclamation. So since 1868, 69, about that era, we've been doing this same tired dance. And I'm tired of it. I think even white folks are tired of it. White folks is like, listen, we white folks, and we don't know how to do anything other than how we do. But y'all, maybe y'all could change. Dr. Amos Wilson said, we don't have to really petition or advocate that white folks change. By simply changing our own behaviors will provoke a change in their behaviors, which it has done throughout history. But this whole thing of atrocity and then protest, concession, atrocity, protest, concession, atrocity, protest, concession, atrocity, protest, concession. So atrocity, a lynching, a mistrial, some type of discovery of some massive government corruption, discriminatory action, private sector discrimination. Then we hoop and holler, or we send our official hoopers and hollowers, our preacher leaders. They're having the same doggone religious, ethical leadership since the days of the plantation. Preacher leaders. Oh. And then some white liberals will come and say, yeah, this isn't right. Let's have a policy shift. Let's have some type of reconciliation. And then we'll be like, oh, we've reached the promised land. We can go back to sleep. We can go to work, go about raising our families, and go about living our lives now that we have this piece of paper that states that crackers won't stomp on our throats anymore. And then another throat gets stomped on, and we're like, whoa. Didn't you see the document? Didn't you see the flimsy piece of paper that we had that said that you couldn't do this no more? So it's back to the streets to hoop and holler. And then we get a brand new, crispy, fresh piece of paper that says, okay, we sorry, we won't do it no more. And then we all take that piece of paper and we dance. We dance with our elbows back and our chest out. We have reached the promised land, and then we'll get some integrationist Negro and prop him up, get a poster and put it up in all the schools saying, this here man, he done got us our freedoms. And then here we go again, yet another atrocity. And we be like, whoa, hey, white folks, did y'all forget we had this shiny piece of paper that had signatures on it and everything? It said you weren't going to do this no more. Then we hoop and holler. We might have a rebellion. We might burn the city before we go back to sleep. If there's been too much intensive public televised atrocity. You know, what got me on this? Of course, Walter Scott and the acquittal. Now, there's a trending thing here that I think, see, we got to connect the dots. And when I say connect the dots, no, I'm not talking about Masonic, satanic rituals, Illuminati, these numbers, numerologists. You know, see, the name Walter has 6 letters. Well, they love 6s and 7s, 8s. Like 3 don't get much love. Like, if you turn 3 on the side, it looks like a butt. But if you turn 8 on the side, it looks like an infinity symbol. I don't know. I'm going to have a numerologist on here just for the laugh, for kicks. Maybe April 1st will be the day I bring in the Illuminati overlords, Masonic supernatural powers, you know, Illuminati hand gestures. I need to get off Facebook Live. I might accidentally do a hand gestures, and then I'll be all up on Signet or TV. This brother is funded by the Illuminati, you know, whatever. But anyway, Walter Scott, his murderer, there was a mistrial. And we had a black judge, y'all, and a black foreman of the jury. How that happen? You know, we integrated. For all this time, we thinking black judges and black presidents and black cops and black banks and black businesses was our saving grace. We got things. Look, you know, he got his shiny certificate, a law degree, I'm sure, and his certification as a judge, and I'm sure his robe is just probably, I mean, you know, that probably a brother judge. You can tell, I mean, starched out judge robes, you know, his judge, you know, you can tell. Like, you go into where they hang their robes, you could probably tell the brother's robe. It's just starched, dry, I mean, the nicest, crispiest. Cat, homeboy before the trial, lay out his judge robe on the bed, and he sleep on the floor. Because he don't want no crink in that. Because he got to represent us all. He got to carry us all. He is the embodiment of the black racist hopes and dreams. This black judge who presided over this trial of a black man who was murdered. And we had a black jury foreman. I mean, the brother was the only one, but he was the foreman of the jury. All this blackness, how could we lose? Because it ain't our system. But anyway, what hurt me more is not even this dude's acquittal. Of what? Michael Slager. I mean, just his name alone. Guilty. What kind of name is that? How do you spell it? Slager. Slager. You know. Nah, that's kind of like you know, a way to like slur the N-word. I don't know. Got to get some of those numerology, you know, Illuminati reptilian overlords. I'm sure they could break that name down, do the etymology of that name. Link his heritage. Maybe he's some great-grand descendant of the fictional character called Willie Lynch. Yeah, Willie Lynch is not real. And the Willie Lynch letter is not a historical document. But anyway, that's whole different. But anyway, Slager went home that night. Now he's on house arrest. Probably still on the PD payroll. But he went home that night after the jury was hung, and it was a mistrial, so he's going to get another trial. And now there's going to be the jury selection is going to be more secretive, because now they have to find, this is a story that made international headlines. This video has been seen around the world, and they're supposedly go find 12 people who have not been exposed to the information, been exposed to the trial, who have not been exposed to the hooping and hollering of Michael Scott's mother. And she engaged in idolatry, if you ask me. I'm going to play what this woman said. This, to me, is pure idolatry. Now, I'm not a Christian, but I know an idolatry when I see it. And idolatry is essentially, you know, the layman's definition of idolatry is attributing things to non-godly things, godly powers. So if you look at a rock and say this rock is God and start to worship the rock or ask the rock to bless you or to, sanction your marriage, then you're engaged in idolatry because that rock is not God and God is not that rock. So attributing things of God to non-godly things is idolatry. And I mean, you can call me here at the station and maybe explain to me how I got it wrong. Just be like I'm not a religious scholar, and I don't think anybody is a religious scholar. Because scholarship and religion, it's like a pro-woman rapist. How? But anyway, Walter Scott, murderer, gets another, and it's going to take at least, before they even retool, I'm sure the prosecutor's going to go back and want to rework his case. I'm sure the defense team is going to want to delay just to keep him out, let him breathe free air, allow the pain. It's just the same thing they pulled with the Rodney King trial. And they said they just kept playing the Rodney King beating over and over for the jury and for the nation, playing it and playing it and playing it and playing it. And then you get this thing called numbing. The first time you see it, it's like, whoa, it's like watching Friday the 13th for the 50th time. Some of us people from the 80s who were teens and young people in the 80s, we watched those horror movies over and over. We didn't have the selection of Netflix. So a lot of times you get a VHS of a certain movie, it get passed around the whole hood. Everybody watches, you get to the point the jump scares you. You get desensitized to the violence. That's their whole argument about video games. You watch video games and shooting up aliens and stuff. They say you get desensitized. So you watch Slager, we got to do something with that name, y'all. Slaying black folks, slaying in words. Right, shoot this black man, 50-year-old black man. They say it's 17 feet away. Shoot him in the back because he was in fear of his life. And then he's seen on tape dropping his taser on the dude to try to, accuse him of taking. So we've seen this. It's an open and shut case. But anyway, this trial could take another year or more before it's brought up again. Now, I know they're going to want to, because of the media attention, they might expedite it. But sometimes these things could take more than a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And black folks know how long it could take to get to trial. Especially if you black, you get arrested and you ain't got bail money. Even though you haven't been convicted of the crime, you could spend 3, 4. They had a brother spend just here in Cook County Jail 5 years in jail without being innocent. He was innocent. He was innocent because he had not been convicted by a jury of his peers. He had not pled guilty. And so all of the various ways that you can be lawfully detained by the state or the federal government or even a local or county government, none of those ways the government had not exercised the many options that it had to lock up a brother. So they had this brother unlawfully detained because you, according to the Constitution, you are guaranteed a swift and speedy trial. Right? And bail, he wasn't able to make bail, and bail is in the Supreme Court just stated yet again, it's unconstitutional to give obscenely high bails for relatively minor crimes especially. But anyway, we know, but if you make bail and they take forever to get to trial, I know some dudes, you got money and you can get out of jail and they're going to take 3 to 4 years to put the case together, and then when they submit the case to the judge docket. I mean, this is a criminogenic society. It's crime all day, all night. The FBI crime statistics say what? Less than... Really, it depends on where you look. They say about 30% of all, 100%, 70% or more of all crimes that occur in the United States, of all levels, from minor crimes to major felonies. 70% of them, they don't even pursue. They don't have the wherewithal, they don't have the resources, it's not properly reported. So barely 30% of the crimes, and even with that 30% of crimes, the courts are still quote-unquote overwhelmed. Now, if it's a multinational corporation getting caught doing a crime, then they're going to just have a hearing, pay a fine, and be done with it. But for us civilians, for us non-corporate persons, for us what they call natural persons, it's a mess. You don't even want to be entangled in any kind of legal entanglements. You know, like I say, I avoid the police at all costs, not because I am an unlawful person, but because the police and the system is unlawful. But anyway, this Slager, he's going to be at home. He's looking at least a year before it goes back to trial. And by the time it does go back to trial, it's going to be off people's radar. Because that's what they did with the Rodney King trial. They retried it. They let 2 of the cops off. They convicted 2 of the cops. And then when everybody was like, hey, we did another dance, you know, in the streets, we won, yay. They came around the back door, reduced the guys' sentences, let them out, and then they came out and would making more money. One guy went into doing contracts and doing public talks. It's like beating the crap out of Rodney King was the best career move they could have had. But since we had the paper that said, you know, the shiny paper with all kind of official signatures saying convicted, saying guilty, we went back to sleep. You know, but let a brother get on the media and say something sideways about Jews. You think they're going to forget after a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? They hounded Dr. Khalid Muhammad to death. They don't forget nothing. And Khalid Muhammad never killed anybody that we know of. Maybe when he was in Uganda working with Idi Amin, but then again, classified. But you say something. And it don't have to be a lie. It don't have to even be so-called anti-Semitic. You say something that is accurate and you can have peer-reviewed documents to back it all up and they still won't forget. You kill our children and have them bloody in the street, give us a week. We're on to the next thing. So, I mean, we need longer memories, y'all, and real consequences. But let's go before, because there's a bigger thing, there's a bigger dot that I think we're failing to connect. There's a larger social trend that black folks need to pay attention to that I'm going to bring to our community's attention. But let's listen to Judy Scott. This is Walter Scott's mother after the trial, engaging in what I call blasphemous idolatry. And I know maybe people are always jumping on me, you got to be sympathetic to people's pain. Hey, that's our pain. That's collective pain. Because if it's about her personal pain, then why is she on CNN talking to the world? You know, because by the time you are quote unquote broadcasting your pain, then you open your pain up to response. You know, but anyway, let's hear Judy Scott, the mother of Walter Scott, in a press conference following the mistrial, following them failing to convict this man after a public lynching of an innocent black man. Oh. Wait a sec. Oh, hold on. Rewind selector. Take the mute off. Okay, now here it is again. Judy Scott, mother of Walter Scott. All right. Rest in the Lord. And look at all them. All right. All right. The mother of Walter Scott, Judy Scott. It's not over till God says it's over, which isn't true. It's not over until the prosecutor says it's over. The prosecutor could decide, I'm just going to not retry this. The judge could declare a mistrial. Or the jury can decide again to not convict or to be hung. failed to reach a unanimous. Everybody but God seems to have a say in this. And you know, like I said, this is the same tired dance we keep doing. And I know people are like, oh, people's pain. Yeah, you know, this, like I said, ain't nothing individual or personal about that pain. This is all of our pain. This is something we all go through. And like I said, if it was personal or individual, you're not standing in front of a bunch of microphones. Because if not for the efforts of all the other black folks in these streets, the efforts of our ancestors and black folks in the streets today, these cases wouldn't even be going to trial. They wouldn't even have national exposure or global exposure. So you can talk that personal stuff if you want to, but it ain't nothing personal about this. I got a caller. I know I'm in trouble because I'm saying some things I ain't supposed to say. Caller, you're on the Bro Diallo Show. State your name or alias and where you're calling from, please.
What's going on, brother? This is Brother Joe from Jackson.
Straight out of Jackson. What's up, bro?
But I really wanted to bring up the point about what really happened with nullification.
Oh, you didn't pop the cherry too quick, man. I had a whole thing on jury nullification. Man, but you a lawyer, so this is, you go on and break it down, because I had a little video queued up, a little audio. I had a whole thing on jury. That was the dot that was we failing to connect. But go on, brother. Go on, warrior lawyer. Do you like that title, warrior lawyer?
I don't really, I like that title, and I try to do it, but I don't put too much weight in being an attorney. I try to do what I can. I know this is right to the core, and what we can do is limited. And I think that as lawyers, we really have to try to find a way that we can be more proactive than reactive. Because being a defense attorney like I am, that's really a reactionary type of thing. But our people need this. We need to defend our people. And that's why I got into it. But we really need lawyers, myself, and whoever else to get these kind of skills to learn how to build these different kind of enterprises, cooperative enterprises, everything of that nature, how to build cooperative communities from the legal standpoint, stuff, not necessarily from the organizing standpoint. But we need more knowledge on that stuff. But anyway, on the jury nullification, till, yeah, you're right, people are, and one, because it's a long chain of white folks, that white man, white folks, they have been, and outright murdered our people. Emmett Till is murdered. They got off because of all white juries refused to convict them, and it's countless others. I was just reading this report that the Equal Justice Initiative out of Alabama released about how veterans were being lynched after they came back from World War I, World War II, and even other wars as well. And many times people just saw these people be gunned down or be lynched, them and some of their spouses in some instances. And the people, they would either not come forward, or if there was a trial, which in most instances there was not even a trial. But when they would have a trial, no witnesses would come forth, or the witnesses that did come forth, the jury would still refuse to convict these people.
Yeah.
And I think black people, we have to get in our minds, especially on these nonviolent drug offenses and other property crimes. Black people, we have to start to educate our people about jury nullification. And as lawyers, when we go in the courtroom, in most states, they have banned jury nullification. And now that's interesting because most state constitutions And even the so-called founding fathers, the founding tyrants of this country and counter-revolutionists of this country, they had it in mind when they formed the Constitution and formed this criminal nation, that jury nullification was one of the bedrocks to prevent injustices from happening.
And state tyranny. But then again, how can you expect black folks to nullify, to engage in, to nullify stated and written laws when we got our black elders running around basically saying that our judicial system is equivalent to the Lord's will? How can you look at a corrupt judicial process and say God is acting and see anything divine, holy, or righteous in a corrupt system? So for as long as we're looking at the acts of man and attributing supernatural influence or supernatural process or the will of God to manly corruption, how you expect them to sit there and say, well, I'm going to nullify this, I refuse, even though all the evidence is here, even though it's obvious, I'm going to go the other way? Because we know since the Unionists beat the Confederates, jury nullification, just like sovereign citizenship movement, a lot of these things that black folks get into come right out of the racist right wing. You know, jury nullification has been working on behalf of white racists. And I mean, is it really possible that we can capture a practice that has been used against us and start using it on our behalf? I mean, wouldn't it take akin to a cultural revolution? Because Dr. King said it's our job to make America live up to the content of its creed. We're supposed to make America America. That's our God-given duty, for us to make this nation live up to the content of its creed, to truly make it a free, democratic republic that the people who enslaved and raped and murdered and genocided us said. We're trying to make America's rhetoric. You know, we are the true believers.
Nah, that's a misguided aspiration. And I don't think that's something that we should live up to.
But it's what we're doing, though. I mean, the history will tell. Name a more loyal demographic to the American way. Name a stronger believer in the American dream than the black masses.
I can't. But I think in areas where we can, we definitely should educate our people about jury nullification and try to get them to move towards that way. It would take something akin to a cultural revolution, and the addressing of the mental damage that's been done to our minds. So it's an uphill climb, but it's necessary work if we ever want to start to move towards justice, get something similar to justice out of the system. We have to do what they say is unjust or not right according to their laws in order to do that. And it's a law professor, Paul Butler, that wrote a book called Let's Get Free, a Hip-Hop Theory of Justice. He wrote the book a while back now, but he was on several different talk shows and things talking about jury nullification. And like these talk show hosts, these white talk show hosts, they were just attacking them and telling them, won't this be tyrannical and won't this cause imbalance in the justice system? So if they were such in an uproar by it, I think there's something, if we can't say we outright should start to look at it deeper, this is something that we should at least listen to, pay attention to.
Bruh, but what we're missing is they mad at us for using it. Like white folks, when they see black people on social media waving guns, they get in an uproar. But then you can go on social media and look at the Pentagon's new $1 billion mass murder weapon, and people just don't think anything.
Right.
So white folks don't like jury nullification, don't like the idea of black folks using jury nullification. It's not that doesn't mean that they're against, because I mean the most recent prominent case of jury nullification is the Oregon trials with the Bundy boys.
Right.
That Oregon standoff. When the prosecutor said conspiracy, armed criminal action, he listed a number of crimes that these people were daily on Twitter and YouTube exposing themselves of committing these crimes. And the Oregonian jury said, not guilty. Yes, they did the law, but you can break the law and still not be guilty. So that's also jury nullification. So it's not that white folks are against jury nullification. They're against black folks engaging in jury nullification. Just like they're not against guns, they're against black folks with guns.
Oh, yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. I think we on the same page with this. Just like what you just pointed out, they legitimize their use of violence, and if anybody else tries to even defend themselves, they call that violence.
Right.
They think they're the only ones who legitimately can use some type of so-called violence or whatever the case may be. They go around the world and start all these wars in the name of imperialism and capitalism. And we, not just they, we look at it like it's legitimate.
Yeah.
It's not legitimate. It
ain't just them, right? I appreciate you calling into my show, spoiling my big surprise for everybody.
I apologize. Bro.
No, you don't. You're not sorry. You laughing and apologizing on top of your laughter. That was my big reveal, but I'm still going to play my little jury nullification video. I'm still going to go ahead and call it out. But like I said, I'm glad you said it, because now you... What's that? Where are you, man? Who's that white woman whispering in your ear?
What you say?
I said, who is that white woman whispering in your ear? We can hear her.
Nah, I'm at this self-checkout.
Nah, man, I hear, Brother Adolfo, when will you be off the phone? Look, I hear her. She talking to you. All right, man, we'll let you get back to that white woman. She's being rude. She obviously wants your attention. So we'll let you get back to her. You know, say hi to your beautiful African wife and African daughter and, you know, whoever that white woman is talking over your shoulder. We let y'all get back to whatever y'all up to. Hey, man, I'm just saying. Okay, you told her to be quiet. Thank you. You got her to stop talking. I'm like, shh, be quiet. You know, I'm on the air. I'm talking to black folks. Oh, I'm sorry. But anyway, bro, I appreciate your input. And now I feel further validated because you're welcome, white lady. So.
Trying to get some bananas.
She's so rude. Anyway, man, when you call in next time, please, you know, make sure you drop off homegirl or that white lady first.
Yeah, I keep my white woman at the rap thing now.
Cause look at her, she talking over you.
They're gonna kick me out the revolution.
Oh no, you're gonna get a promotion. You don't know how this works, man.
Much to learn.
Yeah, you new to the game. But anyway, I appreciate the call, bro. And
right, no
please continue to call in and let's continue to build.
Right, definitely, bro.
All right, peace. All right, that was Brother Adolfo, and he is a lawyer. So, you know, if he say something, the white man gave him the credentials to know what he's talking about. So that's another thing I wanted to talk about, jury nullification. Now, he called in and spoiled it for me. But basically, as he was saying, jury nullification is the ability for citizens to interpret laws as just or unjust, valid or invalid, simply by making a determination. If someone goes to trial and they are obviously or proven guilty of the crime, you don't have to deem them guilty. You can say, even though they have committed this crime, we're going to vote not guilty because we believe that the law, that they were acting justly, appropriately, that their actions were valid, even though their action contradicted the law. And if that same other individuals are brought up on charges for violating that particular law, and you have enough people saying, hey, even though people are violating this law, we will not convict them of crimes. Therefore, we have nullified this law. That means you could have Supreme Court in the streets, literally. If people say, I plead not guilty even though I did this act, I admit to doing the act, but I plead not guilty, and we know that he did this act, and we deem him innocent anyway, that's called jury nullification. And that's what is happening. When those guys in Oregon, when Bundy boys went up to Oregon from Arizona and occupied federal property, which is illegal, armed criminal conspiracy is what they were tried for. And the prosecutor is like, do I even got to say anything? Here are the YouTube videos. Here are the tweets. Here is them conspiring and announcing what they were going to do. Here they are in the process of doing it. And here's more video footage of us apprehending them in the act of doing what they said they were going to do. Armed criminal conspiracy. You know, and they even said, we're going to violate this law because we don't agree with this law. And the Oregon jury said not guilty. They nullified. You know, at the same time, this is the same president who sat back and was like, I ain't touching this one. Obama was like, I'm Bennett and I ain't in it. And Bundy, old man Bundy and his sons were bucking Obama since day one. They said he's not an American, he's a Mau Muslim, socialist. I wish, I fast, if there was a God, I'd pray to her and say, I wish everything these white racists said about Obama was true. Can you just imagine if Obama truly was a Muslim, socialist, Mau? I don't know, you're going to be Mau and Muslim. But if anybody can do it, Obama can. If you can be a black man president and preside over a white racist imperialist state, then what can't Obama do? Oh, promote any policies or legislation on behalf of black folks. That's about the only thing he can't do, I suppose. But anyway, jury nullification is an ongoing trend that has been used by the white right wing, the anti-government, anti-establishment, separatist wing of the far. And the reason why they're against it is because, first of all, there's a whole population of white folks that are mad about the Emancipation Proclamation. And then there's some white folks like, if you're going to free the colored folks, send them back to Africa. And then they say, I got to turn on my TV and see white women and white black men together. I got to walk down the street and see mixed couples. And they're just not happy about the direction of America. And these are the few honest white people in America, because they're like, yo, this is a white man's nation, not a white woman, not white people, not even all white people. This is a white man's Christian, Anglo-Saxon, not Slavic, nation. And so those few white folks have come up with these different concepts because they stay losing. Even though they're winning, they stay losing. It's like, it's not enough to have all the power. It's not enough. We want absolute power. Meaning that we do have all the power, but we still can't do whatever we want to do. I can't just lynch a black person. I can't just go on Indian land and dump nuclear radioactive waste or run pipelines right through the middle. And so I have all the power, but it's not absolute power. And so if they don't have absolute power, they're being discriminated against. Now you got white folks running around saying, I'm discriminated against. And if you think you are God, if you think you are the embodiment of God, if you think you are the product, if you are Adam and Eve, the Mormons are like, we're the first Americans. If you have these grand delusions of self and married to all this power and arms and delusions, you have the most pathological, deep-seated insecurity. That's a very dangerous formula. Psychopathic racial personality. Get that book, Dr. Bobby E. Wright. Get The Iceman's Inheritance. Get Urugu, and get The Psychopathic Racial Personality. Get those 3 books. If you are trying to navigate, if you live on planet Earth, you need to not just have those books, not just read those books, but reference those books often for your own sanity. But anyway, I guess I'll go on and play Adolfo, Esquire, JD, the brother called in and just blew up my spot. But anyway, I'm glad he did. I don't know why I'm getting this feedback. Let me see what we got here. But, got some other stuff. But anyway, I'm gonna play this and then go to musical break, and then come back. But here's that's weird. That's better. That's better. Okay. Here's a short on jury nullification. 101. Now we could do this, but we don't do this. And I don't imagine that we would do it. But we should be doing it. Don't put me on the jury, not guilty.
It's a lot like medical marijuana. They say we can have it, but they will do anything to keep us from using it.
School days, dear old golden rule days. Reading and writing and arithmetic, taught to the tune of a hickory stick. You were my girl in calico, and I was your silly bashful beau.
Aloha, my name is Brian Murphy. I am the Director of Maui County Citizens for Democracy in Action. In an effort to educate our neighbors about our civic responsibilities and our civil rights, we are pleased to offer this introduction to the strength of the jury system. It is called jury nullification. Jury nullification is a process whereby a jury in a criminal case effectively nullifies the law by acquitting a defendant regardless of the weight of evidence against him or her. In short, if you are serving on a jury, you can vote to acquit a defendant if you believe that the person is being prosecuted under an unjust law. In the early history of the United States, jury nullification was viewed favorably. One example of jury nullification appeared in the pre-Civil War era when juries sometimes refused to convict for violations of the Fugitive Slave Act. These refusals to convict helped the Underground Railroad operate, assisting slaves in their search for freedom. During Prohibition, juries often nullified alcohol control laws. These verdicts contributed to the repeal of Prohibition. Although a jury's verdict relates only to the particular case before it, a pattern of such verdicts could have the practical effect of disabling an unpopular enforcement policy. Today, judges seem to be less likely to favor jury nullification. While unable to take away the power of nullification, they have done much to prevent its use. The big question is this. Is it fair to have a defendant's fate depend upon whether that particular jury knows it has the power to nullify? On behalf of Maui County Citizens for Democracy in Action, mahalo.
And hurry back to school, and hurry.
I personally don't understand why. You know, you watch modern movies, and there's a lot of black folks' music in movies that ain't got a black actor. Especially like Judd Apatow movies. What is it? They like having like a black soundtrack to their white lives. Me not know. Anyway, that's jury nullification. And you notice how he was like, well, you know, jury nullification was to free slaves. This is another thing we don't understand. Jury nullification, put that in your bank. Start to talk about that. If it's a brother standing there, then you know he ain't guilty. And the reason he ain't guilty ain't because he ain't did the crime. He ain't guilty because the system is to blame. I convict and condemn the system. You know, for the most part. Unless you're on a jury of somebody like R. Kelly or Bill Cosby. But if you know, it's just a brother, you know, nonviolent drug offenders, like the lawyer Adolfo. So now we done had a black man who's been validated by the white system. He's a lawyer, call in and talk about jury nullification. And then I played a recording for you of, you didn't see him, but you could tell he's an older white male. You know, I mean, what more do we need? A stone tablet to descend from heaven? So, you know, this is something we should start to talk about. Like the brother said, this is the dialogue we need to have. We need to stop waiting on the Lord. Stop waiting on God. I ain't even saying stop believing in God, stop praying to God. Just don't wait on him. Do like white folks do. Do whatever you're going to do. And if you succeed, say God bless you. Say you're doing it on behalf. They don't wait for God. You know, Bush said God wants me to invade Iraq. He didn't say I'm waiting on God to deal with Saddam. He said God wants me to invade Iraq. You know, so maybe if Judy Scott got up on CNN microphones and said, God wants Slager under the jail. You know, she said, I'm going to wait. No, just say what you want and then attribute it to God. That's what everybody else does. Muslims, Jews, they didn't say, God, give us a nation. Say, oh, we got a nation, and God wants us to have it. Right? Say, God told me, if Slager don't go to jail, fires will burn. Babylon must burn. God said it, don't blame me. Don't say, I didn't incite this riot. Put God on trial. What, you against God? What are you, some kind of atheist? Satanist? You know. So even if you're going to talk this God talk God talk like the people who taught you to God talk. I'm sorry about that. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to be religious and you're going to practice the religion of an alien race of people who impose their alien ways of viewing God's spirituality and creation on you, do it the way they do it. Because there's only two types, and I didn't want to get into this, and I should be going to musical break. Maybe I'll come back, but let me just say this. There are only two types of Christians, Muslims, in the world. There are the conquerors, and there are the conquered. So if you are bumping your head on the floor in a mosque, or if you are hooping and hollering up in a tabernacle somewhere, you are only one or two classifications, a conqueror or a conquered. Because those are the only two types of Christians. There are no non-conquering Christians, and there are no non-conquered Christians. So which kind of Christian are you? Now, if you are Roman Catholic, if you are Anglo-Saxon Protestant, if you are a Spaniard Catholic, then you're a conqueror. If you, in any way, got any type of hue of skin, then more likely than not, you are a conquestee. You are a conquered people. Now, the only way to get out of conquered and get into conquest classification in Christianity is to engage in conquest, in holy war, in crusades. You know, and it ain't enough just to say, like, let's decolonize Africa. You're still a Christian, like in Kenya, Christian nation. Ghana, Christian nation. I know black folks like, we're going to go back to Africa. And you're going to find the same dysfunction and menticide that you got here. But anyway, South Africa, predominantly Christian. Y'all would have to not only run the colonizers out of your land, which you ain't done yet. Neo-colonialism is very strong. But you would also have to follow the colonizers back to their land and take it over. I mean, who got time for that? So for every Christian who's black, anywhere in the world, you're a conquered person. And not to say that abandoning Christianity would relieve you of that status, but at least it would relieve you of fully embracing and cooperating with that status. It will put you in opposition to that status instead of in full submission to that status. So that's my thing. There's only two types of Christian. You cannot find a sect or population of Christians that are either not engaged in conquest or victims of conquest. Because those are only two people who engage in Christianity. When Christianity, Constantine the Great, made Christianity official religion of the empire, Roman Empire, he did so because he was like, I like this. You know, this is something I could use. God came to him in a dream, he said, and said, you know, under this sign you will conquer. If you want, I want conquest. And he would have went with any god. Same thing with Muhammad. Islam. The so-called pre-Muslim world was a nomadic world of Bedouins. It wasn't a nation state. And in the 6th century, he turned a bunch of nomadic herdsmen into empire builders. So Islam is a religion of conquest. But so is Hinduism and Buddhism. But instead of coming west, they went east. So, you know, black folks, they went in the opposite direction. So that's a discussion for our brothers and sisters in the subcontinent that they call it. In the Asian subcontinent. But again, you got to figure out where you stand. At least acknowledge where you stand. And you black folks, especially like to say, think all you Christians are brothers and sisters under the Lord. But who was it that said the most segregated time in all of America is Sunday morning? Y'all don't worship together. Come on. So I'm just saying, I'm like, I'm out. I'm out. Here's my shred my Christianity card. I'm out this mother. Because I ain't trying to, because if I can't be, I'm just like, I'm out. I mean, there's too many other gods out here. If I'm going to do a fiction, I'm going to do a fiction that plays out better than this fiction. That's all. But anyway, let's go to some music, y'all. And don't be mad at me. I'm just keeping it real. And I know Chappelle told us often keeping it real can't go wrong. And I know hearing that Judy pulls at your heartstrings. But I mean, it's late in the day, y'all. It's late in the day. I mean, there's no reason in 2017, 2016, on the verge of 2017, that we still talking like that. Even if we thinking like that, don't give them the dignity. Don't give them the... Anyway. Let me go to music before I say some more things I don't gotta say. Thanks for tuning in live. I'm heading off live, but I'll still be. You can find and listen to the remainder of the show. The link at the top, Q4 Radio, Q4.org, or you can listen live on the Q4 Facebook page, and you can find this particular show in its entirety on. Where can you find it? You can find the show in its entirety at DialloKenyatta.com. You can also support the show at DialloKenyatta.com. You can support the overall radio station at Q4.org. Thanks for listening live, and stay tuned via your other listening options.